Today we have a special guest, Antonio Bustamante.
Crazy. There's no way, G. Me and my clique, we handling biz while you and your clique just act full gazy. You couldn't persuade me to give a damn, it just don't faze me. I got my Xbox, she can't play me. Money in a text box, I get paid. You the best. You the best. No contest. You the best.
And thank you for coming out, hanging out with us.
No contest.
And so yeah, we're just gonna really get right into it. Because a lot of players from the DMV area or in America in general, they don't really know how to get to the professional level. And I kind of want to go into your story about how you did it. But first and foremost, where are you from?
Basically, I'm from Springfield, Virginia. That's where I grew up as a kid. Grew up there went to high school at West Springfield, middle school, the schools around the area pretty much. So I've lived there for quite some time, and then my family moved to Lorton a couple years ago, and I've been staying here ever since.
So for you, what age did you start playing ball? If you have to remember.
Started when I was 4 years old.
4?
4 years old, man.
What are your earliest memories of?
I think I remember playing for this, team full of friends called the Gray Tigers or something like that, the Blue Sharks. You know how it is. And playing house with a bunch of my friends, and honestly, our team was so good. So we used to smack every single team we used to play. Man, it was really fun. But that's the earliest memory I have of playing football.
So what about the first team organization that you played for? Was that it?
I think it was this team called Kujini, which was out in Ruston.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was the first travel team I played for, so it was pretty organized. Training sessions about 3 to 4 times a week. It was.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
That's pretty good though.
Yeah. I mean, the coach was straight from Italy. I forgot his name, but yeah, he was really serious about it. So. Yeah.
Okay. So even around what time frame was that? What age, if you had to guess?
I think when I was 9. When I was 9 years old, something like that.
Oh wow! So basically, all of your elementary school years, you were just kind of casual with recess.
Yep, pretty much. That was my chance to ball, pretty much, and just have fun, not really think about anything.
Yeah.
So.
And then you got into it around the age of 9 into an actual team.
Yeah.
All right. Nowadays, all these young players are getting kind of technical sessions in outside 4 years old, 5 years old, 9 years old. So at that time, you're just joining your team at around the age of 9. Were you getting any extra sessions out, or was it just?
Honestly, no, I wasn't. Every chance I got, like you said, in recess in school, that's when I got a chance to play, and I took advantage of that. I didn't want to play anything else besides soccer, and actually, I played basketball for quite some time. But whenever I got a chance to play soccer, that's what I did, and I guess I used to travel to Bolivia when I was a kid, every winter, summer, or whenever we got a chance. And over there, the culture is a little different. It's just straight soccer. Everyone's playing around. I remember having this golden soccer ball that I got as a present, and I remember just carrying that everywhere I went. It doesn't even matter where, man. I would walk into a church with my soccer ball, seriously.
And that was your friend, no?
Yeah, honestly, and that's I would go on the streets. I would play random kids on the street. I would play with them.
Yeah.
I guess that was pretty much my extra sessions, really.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So basically, then, your abilities, the raw ability, came from the streets. You're one of the street ballers.
Yeah, that's where I learned. That's where I learned everything from the streets. Seriously.
Hey, so now you guys know the street ballers is where it's at. Don't do these academies. After your first club at around that age, 9. How long did you stay there, if you had to guess?
From Kujini, I think I stayed there for about 2 years, I want to say. Yeah, 2 years.
So then where did you move after that?
I went to this team called the Cougars, which was also Ruston. And I remember that was also a travel team. It was, at the time, what was the name of the league? I think it was called MPSL.
Yeah.
They had 6 divisions, if I'm not mistaken. And that team was a jump to Division 1. Whereas Kujini was somewhere Division 3, Division 4. I was just using it just to get a feel for it. Yeah.
So at this time, did you even have an idea of what you were trying to do, or you just jump in team just to be around better kids? Did you have a goal?
To be honest, no,
Yeah.
I didn't. I think it was mostly my grandfather pushing me, saying, he needs to play with better kids, better competition. And my dad this is around the time when he was kind of just getting involved in it and just seeing how it was and stuff like that. And I remember we played against Reston Cougars, actually, and they killed us. And I remember seeing how they play. I guess I just saw myself fitting with that team. So, yeah, I ended up joining that team pretty much after 2 years. So.
Okay. So then, and you're just bouncing around seeing what was good for you, and then eventually, obviously, you were able to get into DC United Academy. Mm-hmm. Was that something, how did that opportunity come about?
It's funny because after the McLean travel team, that was when pre-academy was created, and McLean had a pre-academy, and I joined that at the age of like 14, pretty much. And I played with that team for about a year, and that team, even though we had a good group of guys, like our state cup team was split into two because some of the guys were 96s. So the pre-academy was just 97s only. So half our team kind of went apart and the other half stayed. And we got new players, but we just weren't able to compete at the level at the pre-academy, like Red Bulls, DC United, like right. MLS pre-academy teams. And how I went to DC Academy was we would play the DC United pre-academy, I think about like 3-4 times a year. And I remember impressing in both those games, pretty much scoring against them, and that's when I got invited to train with them, like a couple training sessions out in the auxiliary fields in RFK back where they used to train. Yeah. And I remember just impressing there as well, and I guess that was when, what was his name? I guess Tom Torres was there. I guess he gave me a shot, and that's pretty much where it all started. That's where my career with DC United started, pretty much. Okay.
So now, when you got that chance to go into DC and you got in, was that at that moment you kind of thought to yourself, I actually have a chance to push for more for yourself?
Yeah, easily. I was always going to the DC United games as a kid, so I knew what it meant. As soon as I joined that team, I knew that it was definitely a step ahead of McLean. Because you don't join DC just for fun. You know, everyone has aspirations to go pro when you're joining that team. So right. When I went there, the level was significantly higher. And yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
Now you're in DC Academy, and I know you said that it was significantly higher than where you were before McLean, but going into there and all the players there, many players there had chances to go up as well. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like, what was it about the level that was such a difference for you, if you can remember, at the time?
I think I'll start with the coaches. The coaches were much more committed. Even the training sessions were a lot different than what I was doing at McLean. It was very technical. It was very specific in what they wanted to do. Much more tactical, I guess. Especially with when I was 15, when I joined, it was still technically the pre-academy-ish. And the coach I had at that time was Chris Ward, and his style or his motto was very just about discipline, you know. And he would teach us because honestly, as kids, man, like, you know, we like to mess around and stuff like that. We weren't really like everyone was insanely focused on that part of the soccer, but he really taught us like how to be disciplined and what it really means, what you really need to do to become a pro. And at times I remember the first month or two, I don't even think we barely touched the ball, man. We just, every goofball that showed up late to training session, the whole team would run. We would run half the training sessions, and we would run around the field while the other teams were training, and we would sing a chant saying like something like discipline or whatever. I forgot what the chant was. We looked like a military right? I'm serious. And then it wasn't until like a month after where everyone was 30 minutes early to training. You know, they weren't messing around, nothing like that. And I think that part of that aspect of, you know, of your growth and development was so important. So I think, and plus with the players that we have, you know, everyone's already good on the ball. Everyone's technical. So I think when he taught us, I guess, that aspect, it really helped us, I guess, strive from there. You know?
So you definitely would say, because now it's called MLS Next, but you would definitely say playing academy at the time might have been USSDA for us, but playing academy for you would say definitely helped you transition to becoming more professional.
Oh yeah, easily. Yeah. I think like the players and just the demand was higher. You know, like the margin for error was much smaller than it was at McLean or like, you know, other academies like that. And I think that's when I really realized, you know, you had to be sharp. Your mind had to be right every single training session, because you could lose your spot like that. And by the time we transitioned into the actual academy and 16s like that, that was when, like, you know, it was legit. Everything was pretty much like, you know, everything was provided for when we traveled. The sessions were much more intense. That was when you could go to first team training sessions, which I did pretty often with a couple players that were doing well from the 15s and 16s. And I think my first training session with the first team was when I was like 15 or 16, like that. And opened my eyes.
Yeah,
really,
open your eyes, right?
Yeah.
I could imagine, because not many players in this country in general, if you're not in that scenario, like with a club and academy, you don't really get a chance to see what a first team training session is like at 15 or even 21. A lot of players reach 21 and has never seen it. So I'm sure for you it helped, like made you see how bigger, faster, stronger, or that speed of play. And even like you talk about, because there's discipline in the academy, but then discipline at the professional level is completely different. I talk about men with kids.
Yeah.
You know, it's exactly. A job now. Yeah. So I'm sure. How did you adjust? Was it okay for you, those sessions that, you know?
I remember my first time in the first team training session. I was sweating. Before the session started, I remember arriving and just being scared to look at any of the players, honestly. And yeah, like I remember, who was it, man? There was one player who really took me under his wing. I think his name was Kofi at the time. He was a center back there. He always told me, like, when you come into the locker room, you say hi to everyone, the coaching staff, the players. And I wasn't really accustomed to arriving an hour and a half before training session to kind of, you know, set your mind right, eat. Like, they provided food before the sessions and stuff like that. So I'm sitting there, you know, terrified, like not saying a word to anyone. And I remember the first session, man, I was like shaking. I was shaking. Thankfully, like I've always been a technical player. The technical aspect of it wasn't really a problem for me. It was just like the speed was just much faster, much more aggressive. I remember I got hit by, who was it, man? These players don't play anymore, so it's hard to remember these names. But I remember I got tackled so hard. Just holding on to the ball too long, and it really, like I said, like just stuff like that you don't forget. And then when I come back to the, you know, when you're training with your age, it's just like, it's like, wow, like the difference. You see the difference is crazy. It's crazy. Yeah.
And then you take, maybe even, you know, you take some of what you saw, you learned even with the aggression, or you're able to rub that off on your other teammates as well.
Yeah, for sure. And even then, this was around the time when players were getting called to the national team. And I never got that chance, but I saw players that were getting called in. I got invited to like a training center a couple times, and just seeing that the level there was already really high, honestly, pretty close to the pro. Like, these players were really, really good. And like, throughout my career, I've always taken bits and pieces from every special player that I've come across, kind of, and just try to, I guess, apply it to my game. And I think by the time I was like, you know, 18, I really like had an idea, I guess, of what I needed to do. Okay,
so in this time frame now, so what would you say is an experience in this whole academy process that maybe stuck out the most for you, something that you really took you by surprise, whether it's the first team or travels or whatever, teammates, what do you remember the most?
I think my year in the 16s was my year, it was the year that shaped the player I am today. I think especially, I have to give credit to Tom Torres. I think he really shaped how I am now. And it's funny because when I joined that team, I was struggling to play. I was struggling to get playing time. I remember going home after sessions crying to my dad saying like, I want to leave or I want to stop playing. And he kept encouraging me to keep trying. There was a kid that was younger than me who had my spot, and he was with the national team all the time. And you know, he got called in for like a camp. He was gone for 2 weeks, and I remember my first game. He started me, and that first game was against our rivals, which is New York Red Bulls. And at the time, New York Red Bulls that was the team to beat. They were so good, and I ended up playing my heart out that game. I played like a perfect game, and then from there, Tom really told me I was always like a dribbler, but Tom told me that he put me in the midfield, which was pretty new for me, because I was so accustomed to playing winger. And he told me just 1-2 touch or turn the ball and you can dribble one and pass it off or things like that. And I remember he disciplined me a lot in training sessions. Like at times when I messed up or something, he would stop the entire training session and make me do 30 push-ups in front of everyone. And then we'd continue. And then it just kind of taught me like, don't lose the ball. Like, don't lose the ball. You know, keep it very simple. Yeah. And my favorite team is Barcelona. This is when at the time, like when Xavi, Iniesta were at the top of the game and stuff like that, right. Just watching them. And I kind of like, I guess he really showed me like how to take care of the ball, when to dribble, when to let it go. And I think that's the most important thing, when to dribble, when to let it go. Once you get that part, it's like you can reach different heights with that. And I think that was the year that really shaped me, because then by the time the other kid came back from the national team, I had a spot. He never took it back. And that was like, I think that was when Tom really gave me confidence. Then he started to let me play, and I really, I killed it that year. And then I started to train with the first team a little more. I started to get a feel for it. And I think that was the year where I think it changed my life pretty much.
Okay. Yeah. So now, you know, you're having new experiences training the first team. You're doing well in your DC United Academy year. And now, okay, I'm sure your confidence is growing in terms of like, okay, I can do this, you know? Did you want to go to college, or did you want to go straight into pros? Like, what was your thought process in this time?
It's funny. I wanted to go straight to pro. I wasn't even thinking about college at this time. And I think now with the setup that it is now with MLS Next Pro and stuff, they give kids an easier path to go straight to the pros. Whereas in academy, like with showcases and stuff like that, they would talk about how important that is for you to, I guess, show yourself to get into college or to get interest from other colleges and stuff. And I think around that time, after the end of the 16th year, I remember we did like a showcase, and there were like 100 colleges at our games and stuff like that. And I got so many emails and stuff like that from colleges. And I remember my dad didn't go to college, or he went to community college for a little bit, but then didn't finish it. I never really knew much about college like that. My parents didn't go. The only person that really pushed me was my aunt, because she was at the time applying for George Mason. And she told me how important it was and stuff like that, just in case pro didn't work out. So I think, especially after the showcases and all the emails and stuff, that was when I really started to look into it. And if you're not, like Andy Nahar and these kids were signed at like 16, 17 years old, and I was at the age and not signed, so that was when I kind of just thought about, you know what, maybe college is the route to go. And so that was when, by the time the 18th year started, that was when I was pretty committed to going to college. And it's funny because I committed, like before the 18th year, I committed to like UMBC only verbally, and then I decommitted because I was like, I was very, I guess, torn with my decision and stuff like that. So I think by the 18th year was when I was like, okay, if the college route is the way to go. And then after college, I'm gonna try to go pro. So
okay. So if it wasn't UMBC, where'd you choose to go?
William & Mary. That was where I ended up going. Pretty much.
So what was your decision behind that?
Well,
the reasoning.
It was, as the season went on and stuff, and I was a consistent starter and playing a lot of minutes and stuff, different coaches or different colleges would reach out to you. But Chris Norris, who's the head coach for William & Mary, I think he showed the most effort out of all the coaches. You know, he came to speak to my family, and you know, he showed me so much love, and I think I valued that more than anything. And on top of that, I know William & Mary is like a top academic school, so I think it was probably the best decision for me, at least. And while like most of my colleagues at the time went to, like, you know, big soccer universities like Maryland, Virginia, and things like that, I think like I had this feeling, this personal feeling that I was always overlooked from my colleagues, because you know, all of them were getting called into the national team but me, and I think like I kind of wanted to go to a place where I would have like a significant role, like I guess, you know, like an immediate role from your freshman year and stuff like that. And I think that's what made me decide William & Mary, honestly.
It also seems like you kind of like naturally, but a good man manager. Like, for example, you told me about Tom Torres, like really kind of taking you under their wing and kind of just being hard on you, and then now this William & Mary coach kind of like showing you like, hey, do you feel like that's the type of environment you kind of thrive in, is where coaches are really like trying to help you, you know?
I think like in the long run, I think with most players, if the coach gives you full-on confidence and you don't think about making mistakes, I think that's when you play your best, honestly. At least for me. I think that's when I strive the best, when they give me freedom and I'm able to, I guess, express my creativity, because I've always been a creative player. And I think that's what I valued most, honestly.
All right, so now we're at William & Mary, and are you still thinking that going pro is a option for you? Because, you know, there's kids that go to the UMB, maybe like University of Maryland, UCLA, Duke. William & Mary, did you feel like that was a good place for what you wanted to do still?
Honestly, I knew I had less of a chance than those guys, because obviously those types of colleges get way more looks, right. You know, just naturally, just by the name.
Yeah.
And just by the connects that the head coaches have and stuff like that. My colleagues from DC, when we all left, we still had this group chat and we would talk often, and they would like make fun of me, saying like, why are you going here and stuff like that. Like, you know, like, but I had aspirations to go pro. That never died down when I was at William & Mary, not even for 1 second, to be honest. I think like my, I guess I showed like my desire. Like as soon as I got there, I knew I had to show who I was in the first session, the first year especially. But yeah, I that aspiration didn't die down for a second. That was what I wanted to do, and even when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my degree and stuff like that, the only thing that I was certain about was trying to go pro. That was like for a fact. So I knew I had to make noise, even more so than my other colleagues at their other colleges, just to get all the eyes on us, pretty much.
So what about in terms of the level of play at William & Mary? Do you feel like it prepared you for what was next to come?
I think, like I said, the coach, I think this was when I became the most attacking-minded player. At DC, I had to do, you know, both. I had to defend and attack, and also keep it very simple, keep the game flowing. It was a different role for me at DC. At William & Mary, it was more so like I know there's not many 10s now in today's game, but the typical 10, you know, create, score goals, you know, that was pretty much my primary role at William & Mary. And all the things that I learned in my academy from Tom Torres and everything, I applied it at William & Mary. And I think pieced it together, in my opinion. So I think like at William & Mary, it definitely, I had more weight, I guess, on my shoulders, and I think all that prepared me for that moment, and I just took advantage of it, really.
Challenge there by Bustamante. Ashton out of his net. Bustamante slides it down and into the back of the net. Oh, with space on the outside, and Go working along the goal line. On the ground and into the back of the net.
Bustamante again! 5 deep is the Hofstra wall with 2 William players on it. 7-person wall. Not Bustamante into the top left corner. His 3rd goal of the game, and it's 3-1 William and Mary. Jones cuts to the middle. Up ahead for Ngo. Bustamante on the ground and into the corner. Into the back of the net, his 4th goal of the game.
So how many years were you? Did you play all 4 years or?
All 4.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Any championships? Any?
Yeah, we won. I think my junior year we won the CAA championship. We went to the NCAA tournament. That was when we lost the first round, unfortunately. But I think that team, especially that team, I was with a very talented group of players that honestly, all of them could have probably gone pro. And actually 2 of them play indoor pro. But I think that group was really, really talented, and we really, like, the way we played as a team was just perfect, honestly. We had so much pace, power, and then you apply the technical aspect of it in the middle, and it kind of really, it like molded perfectly, I guess.
So after these 4 years, like, you know your 4th year is coming up, and you still have the aspirations of going pro. Mm-hmm. Do you know exactly what's going to happen next, or did you have an idea, or you didn't really know? What's going through your head?
I think it's funny. Like my freshman year, I suffered like a bad injury, so I was out for half the season, or the whole season pretty much. And then my sophomore and junior year is when I really took it up a notch. And when we won the championship and stuff like that, my numbers were really high. I was ranked like top 5 players in the country at the time, and I think like I caught an eye because I was at William & Mary, whereas like all these other players were like UCLA, Maryland, like colleges like that. And I think when I finished the junior year, by senior year was when like agents reached out, and that was throughout the summers of my colleges. So like when you're off and stuff, I was training with the 23s with DC, but then by the end of my I guess my last 2 years of college, I was just with the first team the entire summer. And I think at that time was when I really I was like establishing good relationships with the staff and stuff like that. By senior year, I think I knew I was going to go pro at that time.
And so your first pro contract was with DC?
Yeah, it was a homegrown. Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty much how it happened.
So, I mean, okay, that coming back full circle now from playing academy and then signing there. I mean, I'm sure it probably feels really good for you. What's going through your mind now? Like you finally signed your first pro contract with the academy that you were playing for. How does that feel?
Man, it felt so good, honestly. Like DC United has always been the team I wanted to play for as a kid, you know, and just being around the area, you know, everyone knows DC United, and I remember my family being so proud, and I was extremely happy. This is when Audi Field was just being built, so the new stadium was there. You know, I signed when Wayne Rooney and Lucho were there, and honestly, it was just a great feeling for me, and especially for my family. Like my family's proud, and that's when I feel the best, honestly.
So you've already been in the first team training when you were younger. Obviously, now you've developed for years. Is it still the same shock? Is this the same shock going to the first team environment, or what is it like for you now?
Not anymore, man. I remember like.
Or at that time when you just signed the pro.
Yeah. At that time, I think the first year I had a difficult year actually. I couldn't really break out into the first team, and I think it was important, especially for my professional career. At the start of my professional career, I needed a punch in the face just to like. It was a good wake-up call, in my opinion, because like in the professional level, it's just everything is marginal. Everyone knows how to do most things. It's just very marginal in what you do, like the errors and how you turn, how you check your shoulders and stuff like that. It's all just very minuscule, I guess. And I think like I needed that in order to take the next step away from DC. Most of my time in the first year, I was with Loudoun. I was going back and forth with DC and Loudoun all the time. So I never really like, I guess, established myself with DC But with Loudon, since I was with them for most of the time, I really, I guess, established myself on that team. But I think it was a good wake-up call, honestly, for me.
So you mentioned Wayne Rooney was in the team at the time, and obviously for everyone born in the 90s, like Wayne Rooney was our guy as a striker. And playing next to him, you know, like what would that even be like for you?
It was surreal, man. Like I remember, like this, I wasn't even signed with the first team yet. This was like my last year of college or the summer of my junior year. That was when Rooney was training with us, and they would grab a couple players just to give him a session, you know, and we would play like, you know, 5v5, 6v6, stuff like that. I remember him doing some ridiculous things, like he would like turn a player way out wide, and he was on the right side, and then he would just chip it across on the left side, top corner, and would just walk back, and I'm looking at him like damn, like it's crazy, you know. I think it was, seeing it firsthand was just, it was different.
It's nothing like TV, huh?
No, not at all, man. And seeing how he was in the locker room day in and day out, he was very disciplined. He knew what he needed to do before every session, and I think like I said, I took that and tried to apply it to my career.
Do you think that that's something that pretty much everyone, because obviously now we see Messi's come into MLS and Zlatan and all these guys, you feel like that bringing a player like that is something that the league needs to grow? Absolutely.
I mean, you see how Messi's changing the league already. When I was like just seeing kids that are wearing the Miami jersey, just walking around here, like all around, I think like it's changing the culture. Everyone wants to play soccer. Everyone wants to be around it all the time. Everyone's like paying attention to it more. I mean, soccer's a global sport, but it would never really strive like that in the U.S. So having like Wayne Rooney come to the leagues, Zlatan, you know, Shaqiri, Insigne, like players like that have played at Champions League, that's won Champions League, World Cups and stuff like that. It's just a different game. It's a different mentality. The demand is way, way higher. And I think that's exactly what this league needs. And you see it now, how it is way, way better than it was, 5 years ago.
So let's say in that, I don't know how old Wayne Rooney is off the top of my head, but let's say he has like 10 years on you, and you're coming in into the dressing room, and you might be intimidated. But after some time, were you able to, is there anything that you ever asked him ever, or you just kind of just let, Wayne Rooney, like, big Wayne over there, let me just leave him alone?
It's tough because I was a rookie, so
right.
I didn't ask too many like specific questions from him, man. Besides like, you know, what any fan would ask, like, what was the best team you ever played against? You know, who was like, you know, stuff like that. And he would tell me, like, you know, he told me, I remember him saying that the 2010 Barcelona team was just untouchable. He said that they were extraordinary.
Bro, hold on. I never even thought about it. That's some serious questions you could ask him, though. Like,
yeah. Trust me. I asked him about Messi, and he said, forget it. He's out of this world. And then I asked him about, like, you know, I asked him why they were the best.
Yeah.
He said that Xavi and Iniesta were so small, but he was like, you can't touch them. You can't get close to them. Their first touch is sublime. It's like they were too quick in the head. You know, that's what he said.
And even you, just before saying, like, seeing in person Wayne Rooney do certain things, I'm sure even, like, there's one thing to watch those guys on TV, but in person and run around the field with them, it's probably something completely different. I mean, and you being at the level that you are, you can probably attest to that, you know, like, TV just doesn't do it justice. You know what I mean?
Not at all. And, like, Wayne Rooney at this time was, like, more of a playmaker, if anything. You know, he was a striker, but he would drop deep in, and he'd pick out passes like that. And I think it shows you how complete of a player he was. And I remember, like, my first session with him, we were doing a finishing session. I mean, I think he was just half-assing it, and he would score. Like, effort. He wouldn't put any effort, and he would score maybe 8 times out of the 10. And it would just be ridiculous every time, just corner, and he would be placing it. And it was when he would get angry, when he would really put some power into that shot, and it's just unsavable. It was unsavable, man. So Yeah, it was just things like that, to be honest.
All right, so you mentioned Loudoun. So you were on loan in Loudoun, or was one of those things where they put you down with Loudoun or down, but
Yeah, pretty much like my contract was with DC, but like for games and some sessions, I would go and join them from time to time. And I think it was toward the end of the season when I was just strictly with Loudoun most of the time, pretty much. Playing USL, getting games and minutes and just keeping my maintaining my fitness and stuff like that.
So then you mentioned that long before a lot of your teammates were getting call-ups. So when did you finally get your call-up?
It was after when DC released me, when I already had interest from the Bolivian national team. I remember them reaching out to my father and stuff like that. When I was this was when, after the season ended, we took a trip to the Virgin Islands and we played like some national team there, just for friendlies and stuff. It was mostly just to kind of like get the group out of the way, enjoy your trip. And I knew the interest was there. I just didn't know if I was going to get called in. That was when the coach called my father, and they basically informed me that they're going to invite me to a camp because they were preparing for the pre-Olympic tournament, which was the 23s around the time. And I remember going there, and one of them pretty much one of the staff members telling me like, hey, listen, like, I know you're here right now. We don't know you too well, so we're just kind of like, your chances of making this squad is very low. Like, we're just kind of just seeing how you are as a player, seeing where your level is at. To be honest, man, I took that very personal. And
of course, naturally.
I ended up just balling there and ended up making the squad. So that was like pretty much my... we played, before the squad was initially announced, we played like 2 friendlies against Colombia. And who was it against? It was against Colombia and some other team. I forgot who, but like I said, I ended up like displaying like a good game, a good level. And that was my first experience with South America, which is completely different football from here. And I think the coach he really loved me from there, and he called me up. That was like my first national team call-up, especially for youth. That was my youth national team call-up, and I knew I was going to Colombia, which was where the pre-Olympic tournament was held. And that was my first experience, pretty much.
So, how does that line up into your Copa America opportunity?
Pretty much like after the pre-Olympic tournament, because our team we were so close to qualifying for the next round. We didn't qualify because of goal differential, which like Peru scored some last minute corner kick on us, kind of like ruined our chances. From then on, this is when COVID hit, so it's kind of like a gap where no one was playing and stuff like that. And I just signed for a Bolivian team actually, for Club Blooming, but I never got a chance to play a game with them or even train with them for a session. But the World Cup qualifiers was still like in set or in motion pretty much. And so the coach had informed me that I was going to be on that team, on that camp. We got a chance to train for like a month or 2 months pretty much. I made the squad for the qualifiers against Brazil and Argentina. I don't know about the Copa America. I never got a chance to play in that tournament, or I didn't get called after that. But for my first senior national team experience was against Brazil and Argentina. Yeah.
So you're just being thrown into the Lions then, basically. So you tell me. So your first experience, these are your teams that you're playing against, and then obviously we know who's on Brazil, for example. Mm-hmm. So now you're in the stadium, and you're just looking over, and you see Coutinho, and like Neymar. Yep. I don't know who else is there. Willian. I don't know. Casemiro. All of them, right?
Yeah, Thiago Silva, Marquinhos.
So basically, you're seeing the European giants and the green and yellow. So now, what's going through your head?
At the Corinthians Stadium, right? Yeah. And that stadium was, in my experience, that stadium was, oh man, it was crazy. the tunnel itself was massive, all rug. All the walls were white, filled with all the memories and all the like the pictures of them lifting the cups and stuff like that. I knew that Corinthians had like a lot of history, you know. So just seeing like playing in that stadium, I'm like imagining myself playing in this big stadium. At the time it was COVID, so no fans were allowed. But in Brazil, the laws were very lenient. So we heard the fans outside the stadium. It's like we heard them. They were loud. They were loud still. And just driving the bus up to the stadium, the fans were like touching our butt, like hitting our bus, like everyone with flares and stuff like that. I mean, you don't see that here, man.
No,
you really don't.
Man.
You really don't. So like the difference was crazy. And I remember the day before, you know, we were just doing tactical stuff, you know, very, very light work, a couple finishing, stuff like that. I remember just like after the session was done, I sat in the middle of the field and just kind of like envisioned myself, I guess, because that's when I knew I was starting for that game. So I'll be honest, man, it was on my mind the day before and the day of. I couldn't really sleep. And
was it excitement, nervousness? Both. Yeah.
Both. I think I was just I didn't talk pretty much. I was straight just thinking about it the entire time. This is Neymar, this is Casemiro, like these, you know, every kid in the world knows these players.
So you got to be honest with me now, man, because like I'm from Jamaica and I have friends from, let's say, like El Salvador, you know, Honduras, all these places, and we all have the same jokes of like these players go there to take pictures. Mm-hmm. So now, like, you play for Bolivia. So in your head, honestly, are you like, yo, I'm on the same pitch with these guys and, like, I'm a fan? Or are you going to compete?
So I remember going in the tunnel, right? We're walking out to the tunnel. You know, I'm like sitting there. You know, obviously we're trying to get ready and stuff. I see, like, the cameras and stuff. Then I see just, like, you know, Casemiro, Coutinho, Neymar just kind of joking next to me right there. And I couldn't stop looking at them. I was looking at them, but then, you know, I was looking forward because I didn't want to be like, you know, like a fanboy, you know. I was starstruck, but you can't, you know, this is qualifiers. This is like, my grandfather, he was a person that meant so much to me. And I knew what this meant to him and to my family, and I knew what I was representing. So as soon as I touched the field, I knew that I wasn't starstruck anymore. I just looked at them like, all right, you know, you're like me. That's how I was thinking about it. You know, even though they accomplished way more, I was just sitting there like, you know, I'm not going to be starstruck anymore. I'm not going to make it easy on you, especially when the game goes on, man. You forget about that stuff. So I was just fiery. I was just built up, just ready to just go to war, pretty much. You know,
once your legs started moving on the field, it was just game time, normal
it was
day.
I'm not gonna, like, we didn't have the ball too much against Brazil, man, but at times, like, I think what really made me comfortable was my first dribble. As soon as I dribbled Coutinho the first time, I was like, okay, this is like any other game, pretty much. And I think I was really, really comfortable from then on. So yeah, I like I said, man, it was once you get like your first touch in that game, your first pass off, you know, you seeing how it is, I think you just kind of like evolve in the game. You get more comfortable as the game goes on. I think that's what happened with me.
So for you, obviously those guys are playing in a certain place, or was at the time, because you're talking about pretty much the primes of these players. Was there anything that you noticed? But then again, you're in the field, I don't know, but is there anything you noticed from them that was just so different? Or
I think, like I said, we were talking about how TV doesn't do it justice. We always talk about how Casemiro is like a straight defensive man, defensive beast. I think what he's so underrated in is his ability on the ball. Now, he's not like no Busquets or anything. I can't even imagine like Busquets on the ball. Casemiro was so clean, so good on the ball. The way that Thiago Silva would organize that team, would stop all counters. It's something that you don't see on the TV. And then, like, man, Neymar's, the guy's, he's different, man. I mean, when he got the ball, and he would change his pace coming at you, it's like, it's so hard to take the ball off of him, man. No, like, I'm serious, man. It's just a different level, like how he's able to like wiggle through like 3 players, and his skill that he has, it's
is that a different type of speed and acceleration than you've seen? Like that level, like I'm sure Coutinho is much of the same. Like the change of pace and agility, is that kind of just okay? That's a different type of level right there.
Easily. I think Coutinho was like more of the passer, more of the, he would do some quick move and he would do like quick combinations. I think Neymar was the one that took him another level because Neymar was able to do what Coutinho did and more.
Going to the World Cup champions now, and you're going into that game. Di Maria is also probably on the field. Messi's on the field. Now what? Because you just got from Neymar. Now you got to go face Messi. Now what? What are you thinking?
Honestly, after the game, it was funny. I got a bunch of messages from my phone and stuff like that. Just seeing like all the messages from my friends and my family. I think one message that stood out from one of my friends. I don't really talk to him too much, but he was like, he played with me in college. His name was Jordan Pettit, and he told me like, he's like, bro, he's like, what I saw today was that you can hang with these guys. And I think that one kind of stood out to me because that's really what I felt like, and it kind of pushed me more, motivated me more. So by the time when we flew back to Argentina, or when we flew back to La Paz, I remember I didn't start this game. I was coming off the bench, but I remember just doing like rondos and Argentina walking out. And listen, man, Messi is my idol. He's my favorite player. Having him come out and just seeing him, that's the person I couldn't stop staring at, regardless of whether the camera was on me or not. I didn't really care. I was just watching him, and it's crazy how nonchalant he is, like with warm-ups. Like he barely moves, man. It's crazy. And then like I guess as the game flew on and just watching him, oh my God, like I said, TV doesn't do it justice, man. I told you how Neymar takes him at a different level. Messi takes Argentina to a different level, evidently, obviously.
Yeah.
The difference with him is like, with Argentina, they're much more aggressive, much more firm with the defending, the way they defend. I think like the team really revolves around him, and Messi doesn't move much. You know where he's at the entire game. Whereas like Neymar and Brazil, they move a lot more. With Argentina, it was like, the ball would flow everywhere for the purpose of finding Messi, for the purpose of finding him. And as soon as it touches his feet, that's when the whole team changes. You see 5-6 runs immediately being made.
Yeah.
And then when he gets it, it doesn't matter if you're next to him or not. Like his touch is always so close to his feet, and like he's pretty short, but he is. I mean, with the ball, he's the quickest player I've ever seen. I think, like, I remember there's one time when he got on the corner, I double teamed him. I was pressing him, and he just straight up turned the other way, took a quick touch past the defender, then took it past, back the other side in, like, one stride. And then our player fouled him. And I was just sitting there, like I have never seen a player, like, do 2 touches in, like, one stride. It's one stride for most people.
Yeah.
And then he would get it, like, once again, he would start walking again. Then he would get it, and then he would turn up the pace. And the way he would sprint with the ball, full speed, like, just touching, like, every step is a touch. It's through, like, 4 people, 5 people. It's so hard to make a tackle without fouling him, because he keeps the ball so close to him. Whereas, like, Neymar is, like, you can put an arm on him, you can kind of push him off the ball. But Messi's so low and so strong, like he's just a different breed, man. Honestly.
Did he score? Did Messi score that game?
No, he didn't.
Then you won.
He didn't. And listen, man, we were actually winning 1-0 for a long time.
Oh. For
a long time, we were winning 1-0 just because off of a mistake that they made in that game. But yeah, I think we got too complacent. I think. And we became sloppy at the end. And I remember Lautaro made a really nice goal. He honestly finished it really well. And it was all because of a mistake we made in the back. And it's Messi at the top of the box. I mean, it's pretty much the most dangerous player in the world. And he took full advantage of it, slipped Lautaro in, finished. Then the next goal came. It was a mistake from our player. And they pounced on it. And just like that, it was 2-1. And I'm saying, like, just It shows you like at that level, you cannot shut off for 1 minute, bro, because these players will punish you just like that. I think that was like that whole 2 weeks for me was just, I don't think I'll ever forget it, to be honest.
Wow.
So
I'm psyched for you, man. That's sick. I'm psyched for you. So now I just got some quick fire questions for you. All right. Goal or assist?
Assist.
All right. Popeyes or KFC?
Popeyes.
Spider-Man or Batman?
Spider-Man.
Winning Copa America or winning Champions League?
Copa America.
I love that. Barca or Real Madrid?
Barca.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
And first pro debut or first international debut?
Pro debut.
Pro debut. Respect. That's sick, man. I love those answers. Yeah, well, there you have it. We have Antonio Bustamante with us. And if you guys stay this long, I appreciate it. And by the way, guys, feel free to subscribe, like the content. We have plenty more to come. And a lot of you guys are not pressing the subscribe button. So I know Antonio here got me. So until next time, take care.